okay, so this goes, I'm going to just talk about myself coaching for a second, because this is the way that I at least think about it. Because I've thought of that exact thing on, like, there's variance on who is actually digesting the information. And like some people are getting it and some people aren't. And I see it in practice a lot. Like, for example, I go to run a drill and I got 2 or 3 drill busters for whatever drill. And then the 2 or 3 kids that always get exactly what I'm saying every time are just like, oh my God. And they're like getting frustrated because it seems so clear to them. But the other kids, it's not so clear and they need more teaching, or they come to the board right after I explain it and say, can you explain it again? And like all that kind of stuff. So you have to cater to different levels when you're playing in youth hockey. So for me, I always skew towards, this is basically my opinion. And for any parents that have seen me coach to this point, I basically go development first, meaning that everybody is going to get opportunities to do everything, so that they can start to actually understand how to think about the game and what is happening and process different situations, right? That's my priority. I skew to winning when the games matter. So when it's a tournament, when it's finals, when it's important league game, like whatever it is, then I tighten it up, right? That's when I go with my, who I think of as my go-to power play, or who I think of as my go-to penalty killers, or tighten the bench, or double shift, lines that have had a good shift back to back, like that.
There's a reward system.
Yeah, right.
Reward system for listening, reward system for getting it, and reward system for like the give a shit meter, all those things, man. Like execution. There's a reward for being a good player when it matters. And then there's also not a punishment, but there is consequences for when you are the same guy every time we do a drill. You don't get it because maybe you don't get it, or we talked about this. I've asked someone. Went to one of the teachers. I said, "Does this person have a learning disability?" I said it because remember, what's his name? He was Sopel. Brett Sopel sent us a message. Right, yeah. He said, because we were talking about this one day. He said some people have a learning disability and they cannot understand. And I said, that's a really good point. So I took that and I really put it in my head. Like, I was very sensitive to that. This kid gets every drill, everything wrong, every single time, every single day, every single drill, every time. And then when he gets it right, he gets it wrong again. So, what was I saying though? There's something about,
like when I was talking about coaching to different kids that have different abilities.
Like if you get it, I think I'm on this. So there's a difference between having a disability where you don't understand, but when it's the same people all the time and you are showing a drill and stuff, that's when I snap and they're talking, they're looking at each other talking and they're looking at something else and then they don't get the drill. Should be a consequence of that.
Yeah. And that's exactly how I am. The consequence will come in those games. And I don't even like saying it as a consequence. It's like sometimes it's a consequence, but sometimes it's another guy just earned it more today, And then I always go back to, on the next game that we have that maybe isn't as important. I go right back to everybody's going. I more or less roll the lines. Everybody rolls like some power play and some PK, because I know that for these guys to progress to the next level, which is what they say they want to do, it actually doesn't matter that much if we win all the games this year. If we win every single game all the time, it actually doesn't really matter that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, you think so, eh? Do you think I'm being combative here?
I don't know.
I know. I like it. I gave you the furry eyebrow and I pointed at you and I said, yeah, but no. But what I was going to say is, I know just by you making that statement that people are going to say, no, winning matters. Being on the best team matters. Let me prove something to you right now. My son played on the 19th place Guelph Storm last year. They were young. They were in games and they were right there, but they weren't the best team. They were really, really young. So my son being on a young team shouldn't have been drafted, especially as a 19-year-old. It's not supposed to happen, but he got drafted. So there's the theory.
Okay, so adding to that, because I had an example too. The 2009 age group, very strong age group. Last year, one of the AAA teams, they were 4th in Ontario. Okay. So one of the best teams you're going to find. Okay. Just how many kids got drafted off that team? Do you know?
6 or 7?
7 kids.
Yeah.
Not 17.
Right.
And that's one of the best teams that exists for the age group.
And they weren't all first rounders.
No. So in the whole draft, 15 rounds, the 4th best team that exists in Ontario out of however many hundreds of teams, there was 7 kids, not 17 kids, right? So when we're talking about actual development and advancement, It doesn't have to be that like we're judging this based on how many draft picks we have or whatever it is. And I know that, right? And I know that because it doesn't matter how good of a job I do at coaching or how good the players are that I have on my team. I'm not going to get 17 out of 17 or 20 out of 20 drafted, go to camp and make the OHL team. It's not going to happen. That just does not exist, right? So when we're thinking about what the coach is doing with the team, what the results could be for your kid, or what the process should look like throughout the year, it's important to have some of that management in your mind of like what the coach is trying to do and how they're trying to do it. And so for me, when I think about what I'm trying to do as a coach and like my own philosophy and what I think of how to operate the team, I'm coming at it from like that kind of lens. And there's going to be problems with that. There's going to be times where it's like, especially in games where I am prioritizing winning in this game, somebody's going to get the shaft that game. Somebody's going to be not going. Somebody's not going to be having a strong game. It is what it is. And then
that's that being fair, being equal. There's a fair, equal means everybody gets a chance. Fair means when it's crunch time, this person deserves to play.
Yeah, and I think it's important too about like giving your coach a little bit of, and just to be clear again, like I'm not getting inundated by like parent complaints. That's not what this is. Like I'm actually just I'm really reflecting on how challenging it is to be in the position as a coach, particularly if you're not a full-time coach. Because I'm sitting like yesterday, like we were up and back to Toronto for 2 games, one on Saturday, one on Monday, which is like a random Monday. I got to drive up there and I'm driving. It's like I can't do other things to like prepare for the game that I would like to do. I can't cut as much video as I would want to cut. I want to sit and do individual video meetings with my guys as much as I possibly can, but just time does not allow. Time does not allow. So it's frustrating when I know how much I want to do and how much I care and all that stuff, but that it's not ever going to be enough. That people are going to be carving you no matter which way it goes and all of that kind of stuff. So it's like having a little bit of grace when you're dealing with your coach or whatever. It's important to keep that in mind because it could give you some balance when you're approaching your kid's year or whatever. You know what I mean? So,
well, like just speaking as a parent, like last year and every year, like you're watching your kids. So like, you just want it's not like you have to win, but like when you're on a slide and you see things going south and stuff, you just, as a parent, you're sitting up here watching in a 6,000 seat arena, watching how easy it would be to fix this and this. No, really easy. I just make that trade, do this. Obviously we need a goalie. Obviously we need a bigger D. Obviously. Yeah. But what's the plan, right? So at the end of the day, the team has a plan. Like I use my kid, for example, right? The team has a plan and it's bigger than my kid, truly bigger than my kid. Although my kid's so included in a lot of the decisions, right? Which is really nice. But at the end of the day, you find out or you get a glimpse or maybe a conversation of what the team is doing. You go, oh, okay, now it makes sense. So calm down. It's going to be fine. And at the end of the day, the player, your player has to play. So that's what I was saying about my kid last year, right? He was on, a bottom feeder team because they sold everything, like they were selling everything off and they were rebuilding a team. And it was like, there was nights where I'm going, you poor son of a bitch. Like, really, like, I mean, you did everything you could today. And it's just, there was a bad goal or just a rookie turnover and, you lost in overtime, whatever. And you did everything. You laid it all on the line, son. And you hope that it get recognized, and it did by his team, by the league, by the NHL. So you just have to do your part, and that's all you can do. And last, if it doesn't work out today, it might work out tomorrow.
So yeah, for sure. And I think flipping it to the coaches now a little bit, this is why I value so much the communicating part. And like I said, everybody has their own styles. This is just for me. It's like I'm very open and upfront about what I think and what I'm trying to do and answering questions and engaging with the players, the families, whether it's meetings or whatever, because I remember vividly what it's like being the player and then what it's like having parents that are also asking questions. Like I vividly remember this. So I say this so much, but as a coach, don't forget. And if you haven't played, it makes it harder because you don't actually you don't have the memory to remember because you didn't play. But try to keep yourself in that spot of, this is what it was like when I was a player. Like I remember being confused. I remember being disappointed. I remember, sitting the bench and not knowing what my coach thinks, and those factors and how much that actually affects you. Like I remember how much that would affect me on the day to day. And that's why I always opt so much for communicating with the players.